What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I'm going to be reviewing the Robin Williams movie Man of the Year. Now, for those of you who have watched my last video, I did a Robin Williams tribute. And I thought, what better than to basically honor the man by watching some of his movies. And the first one I watched since that tribute was Man of the Year. I had watched this movie a long time ago. I have it on DVD, actually, as I showed you in the video. But one of my subscribers, mdecker19, who also did the video with me as well, he wanted to watch the movie. He was curious about it because he hadn't seen it before, and so we both watched it together. And he really liked the movie, and he gave it about a 3.5 out of 5 stars or so. You know, he just really liked the movie in general. I'll get into my review of the movie and how much I liked it later on. But a little bit about it. First, it was released in 2006. A busy year for Robin Williams. I believe he did like 5 movies in that year. Including, I believe, RV was in the same year as well. But anyway, Man of the Year got a 21% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I definitely think that's pretty low, and I'll get more into that later. Anyway, Robin Williams plays this political comedy talk show host named Tom Dobbs, modeled after Jon Stewart, actually, the real-life Jon Stewart, and probably shades of Stephen Colbert as well. And one day he's taping one of his shows, and this woman in the audience says, "You ever thought about running for president of the United States?" Just out of the blue, pretty much. So he thinks about it. You know, at first it's like, you know, Tom Dobbs is like, I'm not actually gonna do this. I mean, this is a joke, pretty much. But he thinks about it, and actually what makes him do it is there's an online petition of 4 million voters. 4 million people said that they would vote for Tom Dobbs as president on an online petition. So then that really convinces him, hey, maybe I could win. Maybe I could run for president. And he does, as an independent, because he doesn't believe, you know, he doesn't run for the Democrat and the Republican parties, but I mean, he's pretty much opposed to both of those parties, so he runs as an independent. A couple other people. His manager is actually played by the great Christopher Walken. One of his, I think his producer or something like that, is played by comedian Lewis Black. Those are pretty much the other two big characters in Dobbs's political campaign. So they run for president, you know. Dobbs runs for president. He promises change, definitely. He promises that there could be an equal, you know, he's kind of saying, you know, Congress should be equal, basically. You know, Congress should be on the same page with each other. Democrats and Republicans, as you well know in real life, really are divided. I mean, the House of Representatives, Congress, that's divided pretty much. The whole politics in general is divided. Nobody can seem to agree on anything. And this movie says basically, let's try to get them to agree on something. Basically, let's try to get them to get on the same page. And Dobbs does get some support over this. But his opponents are pretty strong candidates themselves, especially, I think, it's the Republican candidate who is the strongest candidate, who is actually running for a second term as president, I mean. So, that guy is a pretty tough opponent there, certainly. And then, well, I'll just say this right now. It is confirmed that Tom Dobbs apparently wins the presidency. But there's a little conspiracy going on. There's this voting system called Delacorte. And it kind of, this voting system, seems like a really easy process. You go to, it showed a little thing of Robin Williams, or Tom Dobbs himself, going to one of these Delacorte machines and voting. And, I mean, it was so simple, just a very simple voting process, talking about some of the issues. What issues are you agreeing with? Who are you going to vote for? Pretty much it. Essentially, like 3 or 4 parts to it. I mean, really so simple. But there is a computer programmer, or an employee of Delacorte, played by Laura Linney, Laura Linney, who it uncovers who claims that the Delacorte voting system is flawed, that it doesn't work. I mean, it's not, basically, it just doesn't work. It's flawed. It's voting for, the winner was the wrong person and whatnot. But the Delacorte people, the Delacorte CEO, the leader of it, played by Jeff Goldblum, in a pretty, and this role for him is a pretty rare role, not unlike anything he would actually play, but Jeff Goldblum plays the head of Delacorte, the Delacorte voting system, and he doesn't believe Laura Linney. He's Laura Linney's character. Goldblum's character pretty much passes it off as, there's a glitch in the system, we'll try to fix it, but they're not actually going to try to fix it. Probably portraying right there corporate interests and stuff like that. But Goldblum's character wants the system to stay intact the way it is, basically so that he can make money. Make money and not lose any money off it. So he drugs Linney's character, Linney's character, and this is a hilarious scene, kind of a hilarious scene in the movie just because of the way it was acted. It was really good, really hilarious. Laura Linney's character is in a coffee shop, and she's on edge because there are so many drugs in her system. There's cocaine, there's so many, there's like 10 different drugs in her system that a guy broke into her house and injected her with these drugs. So Linney's character goes into the coffee shop, and it is clear that she is so irritated. As a side effect of the medication, she's so jumpy, so irritable, and eventually, eventually she has to go to the hospital, and that's where it's found that she has like those 10 drugs or so in her system. So, so Lenny's character is pretty much written off as a quack. It's a weird, a crazy person basically, and stuff like that. And Delacorte Industries, the Delacorte voting system seems to be off the hook. She goes to Tom Dobbs, however, the one person who she thinks will believe her. And Tom Dobbs does. He really, something tells him that he believes Laura Linney's character, and, he wants to see what the Delacorte voting is all about, the voting system. He calls up the CEO, Jeff Goldblum's character, and he talks about it. He says, Laura Linney's character, she's has a complaint about the system. Jeff Goldblum's character basically says there's nothing to worry about. Oh, by the way, she has drugs in her system. She's a drug addict and all that, making her look bad in Tom Dobbs' eyes. So Tom Dobbs, essentially, he kind of believes the CEO, but I think he also does, deep down, believe in Laura Linney's character. But anyway, there is a little conspiracy going about. Laura Linney's character is hell-bent and determined on exposing the truth. Truth being, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this before, but truth being that Tom Dobbs actually did not win the presidential election. That the Republican candidate, he actually won. So the Delacorte voting system was flawed and wrong in that aspect. That Tom Dobbs was actually the winner. And when Laura Linney's character tells him that, Tom Dobbs, you didn't win the election, he's distraught at first, definitely. He's like, I worked hard at winning this election, but he seems to realize as well that, maybe he didn't win this election. His campaign manager, Christopher Walken's character, and Louis Black's character, they convince him, you won the election fair and square. But Tom Dobbs eventually does not believe that he won the election himself, and he has doubts, definitely. The Delacorte voting system, the Delacorte CEO wants to shut Laura Linney's character up once and for all. So he has a guy tail her and probably kill her. And the first half of this movie is definite, or rather, I'll get into that after. But anyway, Linney's character gets tailed to a phone booth, and Laura Linney's character tries to convince Dobbs, I'm right, this voting system is absolutely, positively flawed. And the guy who's tailing her runs into the phone booth and tries to kill her, but Linney's character jumps out of the way just in time, suffers a lot of injuries, but does not die. And it is eventually the CEO is arrested for treason, or not treason, but is arrested for I think they said attempted murder, something like that. But he is arrested, disgraced, essentially. Dobbs drops out Dobbs quits the presidency. He resigns. The Republican candidate is in as for a second term, the real winner. And Dobbs goes back to his late night comedy talk show. And and all is right, essentially. And he really, Dobbs really is convinced that he did not win this election when he performed in front, or went on a guest spot on actually Saturday Night Live. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler actually appear as themselves as in some in cameos as they're doing their weekend update on SNL. So he appears on that, and he says, I didn't win, and whatnot, and eventually, yes, he does get out of the presidency. He resigns, and appoints Laura Linney's character as his producer on the talk show, and that's essentially it for the movie. Overall, I like this movie a lot. I think it was a very underrated. I think it's a very underrated Robin Williams movie. Robin Williams is just hilarious in some of his lines. This is just a vintage Robin Williams role right there. Manic comedian pretty much is what I would describe him as. He's all over the place. He's so funny. He's so funny like that, and it's just a vintage Robin Williams performance for sure. The second half, definitely a conspiracy. A lot of people, and what I was going to say before, a lot of people criticize this movie for being a conspiracy at the second half of the movie instead of being, I guess, all comedy in some way, But a lot of people criticize the conspiracy aspect of this movie as the second half, and then the comedy aspect as the first half. Some people had issues with that, but I didn't. I didn't really have issues with it at all. I mean, the comedy was just so funny. The conspiracy itself was intriguing, definitely. Is it the best conspiracy thing in a movie that I've ever seen? No, but it definitely was good. Character-wise, I really liked Robin Williams' character. Christopher Walken's character, pretty good. Lewis Black's character, pretty funny. The one character I didn't really like, Laura Linney's character. I guess she was portrayed as an obsessive-compulsive disorder a woman, essentially. And I have obsessive-compulsive disorder as well. But I just I didn't really like the portrayal. I thought she was kind of annoying, to tell you the truth. It was kind of an annoying character. I mean, the one scene, though, the scene that I explained about in the coffee shop there, that was pretty hilarious just because she was crazy. But she was crazy on the drugs, of course, but she was crazy nonetheless. So, I really liked, I really liked that, but other than that, Laura Linney's character, I didn't quite like. So, that definitely takes something away from the movie right there. I think the safe bet in this movie, for this movie, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Robin Williams, as funny as ever, an underrated performance for him. The conspiracy itself was pretty good. Again, the only thing I did not really like was Laura Linney's character. But that's really the only complaint that I really have about this movie. It was a good watch, and I would recommend it to you guys. Certainly. It is a good watch. And that's it for this review. D-Rock 1992 out.